Hello friends. Today I will tell you the tragic story of a cruel father who started injecting his daughter with harmful drugs to make her grow up faster. His intention was only to satisfy his physical desires, a horrifying mindset of a perverted father. This stone-hearted father never told his daughter why her body was changing this way, but the people around were surprised. How did such a small girl grow up so quickly? When the girl became a young woman, her father did something so terrible that even an enemy wouldn't dare. What happened to the girl in the end? Why did Allah's wrath descend upon her father? Did the girl survive or did she die? If you want to know, watch the video till the very end. A nurse was holding a crying baby in her arms, whose face reflected countless sorrows. The nurse handed the baby to Mahdi. Mahdi held the baby close to his chest and began to cry uncontrollably. His eyes were filled with tears mixed with intense anger, an unusual expression. Why did this happen? How did his life change like this? These questions kept swirling in his mind. What do I do now? Do I have to raise this little child all alone? In the depth of sorrow, he was overwhelmed with the thought of how he would secure the future of this child. Inside him raged a battle. On one side, the pain of loss. On the other, the burden of responsibility. In the midst of this sorrowful thought, he walked out of the hospital. The cold night air seemed to intensify his pain. But a few relatives came to comfort him. They said, "You are not alone. We are with you." But Mahdi realized he would now have to start life completely anew. His wife's funeral had been completed. His heart understood life would no longer be the same. Handing the child over to Rajia, Mahdi said, "This girl is now an orphan. Can you take care of her? I know I cannot bear this responsibility alone." Thus began a new chapter in Mahdi's life, an unknown journey where every moment was filled with a mixture of pain and hope. Yet he knew for this child he had to build a new world. When Mahdi left the child with his sister Rajia and returned, Rajia turned her face in anger and said, "This girl took away her mother the moment she was born. This girl will only bring misery. Keep her away from me." Hearing this, Mahdi turned to stone. His heart shattered into pieces. Still, he said nothing. He just held the child tightly and silently returned home. There was no light of hope left in his eyes. After his wife's death, this child was his only promise in life. But his sister's behavior snatched away all his hopes. Heartbroken, he left Aki at her grandmother's place and began to live alone. He worked at a medical store all day. But every time he returned home, he drowned in loneliness. Time passed and Mahdi's love for Aki turned into hatred. He would think, if this child hadn't been born, my wife would have still been alive. This thought slowly pushed him towards addiction. At first he drank a little alcohol, later it became his only companion. Mahdi stopped working. Day after day he would lie in bed drunk. On the other hand, Aki was growing up with her grandmother's affection. She didn't know how her father viewed her, but when she turned 13, her grandmother suddenly passed away. After her grandmother's death, Aki became completely homeless. She was forced to return to her father. After 13 years, Aki returned to her father and one day gathered courage and asked, "Father, why are you so angry with me? Have I done something wrong?" Mahdi gave no answer, just stared at her with empty eyes and turned his back to sleep. His addiction was still in full swing. Every day Aki would say, "Father, if you don't work, how will we eat?" But it seemed Mahdi couldn't hear anything. One day Aki fell ill. Her face turned red. There was restlessness in her eyes and her body was burning intensely. Trembling, she went to her father and broke down in tears, saying, "Father, I have a high fever. I feel very sick." Mahdi, in a drugged stupor, looked at her silently for a while. His mind was swirling with demonic thoughts. After a moment, he softly said, "Betty, don't worry." Then he quickly went to the medical store where he once worked. He brought back a special injection and returned home. Aki was shivering with fever. Her eyes were closing and she was becoming weak. Without any hesitation, Mahadi took out the injection and quickly injected it into Aki's arm. After the injection, Aki fell on the bed. Her body went numb and she was struggling to breathe slowly. Mahadi was sitting on one side watching her. Then slowly a strange smile appeared on his face. At first Mahadi was smiling softly. Gradually it increased and suddenly he started laughing loudly. In his eyes there was a strange lust. He kept spinning the injection bottle in his hand over and over again. As time passed, strange thoughts were running through his head. The night passed. Morning came. Aki opened her eyes, feeling extreme weakness in her body. The intensity of the cold had sent shivers throughout her body. Her fever was so high that she couldn't get up from the floor. But Mahadi didn't stop there. As usual, his evil took a more terrifying turn. He made Aki take such medicines every day, which caused her to suffer from high fever. Then again, he would inject her. Every time he said, "Don't worry, dear, you will get well very soon." But Aki never got better. Rather, strange changes started appearing in her body. Today was just like that same day. Mahadi called Aki. "Dear, cook something nice tonight." "My special friend is coming to our house tonight," Aki asked in surprise. "Which friend, father?" Mahadi smiled and said, "You saw him when you were little. He fed you a lot, loved you a lot. Today he's coming straight to our house from Islamabad. That's why I said prepare the food well." Aki lowered her head and quietly went to the kitchen. That day the weather started to get worse. The night scene was cold and foggy. Suddenly, in the darkness of the night, there was a knock on the door. Mahadi quickly opened the door. In front stood a man who was about Mahadi's age. Both of them were nearly 50 years old. Seeing him, Mahadi hugged him with excitement. The man said with a laugh, "Hey brother, will I just stand at the door or will you invite me inside?" Mahadi laughed and said, Come inside." Both of them entered the house. Mahadi immediately called Aki. "Dear, quickly bring the food. My friend is very hungry." After a while, the door opened, and Aki entered with the food tray. Mahadi's friend's eyes fell on Aki. He suddenly seemed stunned. There was a flash in his eyes as if he got lost in some unknown world. Without looking at the food, his full attention went toward Aki. There was a strange glow in his eyes, as if he was searching for some hidden mystery. On his lips was an unnatural smile, as if it reflected an inner greed. Aki knew nothing, but Mahadi understood everything. The sign of intense anger was clear in his eyes. Mahadi immediately knocked his finger and said in a stern voice, "Where are you lost, Momin? This is my daughter, Aki." Momin suddenly snapped out of it. He came back to reality. But with discomfort, he smiled and said, "Oh, isn't this the same girl I once used to feed with my own hands? But how did she grow up so fast? Seems like at this age..." His words were flowing out. There was a strange tone in his voice. Mahadi quickly tried to shift the attention toward the food. "The food is getting cold. Come, let's start eating." But Momin was still looking at Aki. Then, after thinking for a while, he said, "Tonight I will stay here." A slight discomfort appeared on Mahadi's face, but he quickly composed himself and said, "Momin, I have urgent work tonight. I won't be at home. My daughter will be alone, so you must leave tonight." Momin again looked at Aki with a greedy gaze, as if he wanted to say something. That night his father's friend left, but there was a certain lust in his eyes. After seeing off his friend, Mahadi entered the house. He saw Aki's face had dried up. Her body was trembling and her eyes were filled with strange fatigue. "Father, I told you I have a high fever. Didn't you bring any medicine for me?" Aki spoke in a tone of pain. There was a kind of fear in her voice, as if she knew something bad was about to happen. Mahadi gave a cold smile and said, "Yes, yes, I know. Have I ever forgotten to bring your medicine? I never forgot to bring anything for you. Take this medicine." And that medicine was the sleeping pill. Mahadi said, "The fever will completely go away by morning." On his face was that same old smile, which was a reflection of both cold cunningness and mystery, as if some unknown power was working inside him. Aki was overwhelmed with disbelief, but she said nothing. She quietly went to her room and lay on the bed. Mahadi rolled up his shirt sleeve and gave the medicine. Aki was rubbing her hand for a while, but she was enduring the pain. Then, slowly, her eyes began to feel heavy. An eerie silence enveloped her. Her eyelids gradually started to close, as if some unknown force was pushing her into darkness. Mahadi watched the scene with a sinister smile. This was the result of his long-standing plan, which he had been meticulously executing for 2 years. Tonight his dream was about to come true. He took out that special injection from his pocket. It was a strange, powerful injection, a secret synthetic drug that could have bizarre effects on the human body. He had obtained it years ago while working at a pharmacy. But his real intention was to experiment with it on Aki. Aki felt that something strange was happening to her body, yet she couldn't comprehend it. For the past 2 years, Mahadi had been subjecting her to transformations. Her face, skin, body, everything was changing unnaturally. But she couldn't understand anything. Her body seemed no longer under her control. Mahadi carefully disposed of the injection, leaving no evidence. Then he calmly went to sleep, as if nothing had happened. However, Aki was still restless. There was a strange uncertainty within her. She couldn't grasp what was happening to her. The next morning when Aki woke up, she felt a peculiar kind of pain. Still, she tried to keep herself somewhat strong. Despite being weak, she began preparing breakfast. Her body was unbearably tired, but her mind was saying something. Something or other will surely happen. Just then, from outside, Aunt Boki's voice was heard. "Aki, could you give me some sugar? I've run out of my ration." Aki silently picked up some sugar and went outside to give it to Aunt Boki. Aunt Boki looked at her intently and said, "You're becoming more beautiful day by day, and you're the only one who looks so good despite so much hardship." Aki became a bit confused. Aunt's words seemed unusual to her. However, she said nothing and quietly handed the sugar to Aunt. Then she went back inside. Some unknown questions were swirling in her mind. Mahadi was sleeping at that time. His bad habits and light-breathing sounds were creating a hum throughout the house. Aki was restless then. She couldn't calm her mind. She went to the kitchen and saw that all their essentials had run out. She had no money to buy anything. Meanwhile, Aki knew that something different was happening. That feeling wasn't leaving her, as if every moment her life was changing. Finally, Aki slowly approached Mahadi and called him Abba. He immediately sat up as if something terrible had happened. "What happened? Why are you calling me?" In the morning, Mahadi's head was spinning again. "How many times have I told you not to wake me up early in the morning? When I get up early, I feel unwell. There's no need to wake me up." Mahadi angrily said, "You're just like your mother. I used to tell her too. Get up in the morning, start working." Aki slowly said in a pained tone, "If you keep sleeping like this, where will the money for food come from? You've quit your job for a month. Now, if you get up early and do something, some money will come in." Mahadi was intoxicated at that time. Suddenly he sat up startled. His red eyes had a strange look. He angrily said, That's not a laborer's job. I'll run my own business. Working all day and earning some money in the evening won't feed us for the day." Aki fell silent. Her silence seemed to signal some deep danger. Mahadi suddenly stopped. After thinking for a while, he quickly wrapped himself in a sheet and went outside. His destination was Ramzan's house. As quickly as possible, Mahadi reached Ramzan's house. He saw that all the neighborhood gamblers had gathered there. Mahadi sat among them. They were all professional gamblers, and Mahadi was one of them. Illegal earnings and gambling were his old habits, from which he could never escape. Today, he would place a big bet. The entire month's food would be arranged, so he wouldn't have to work anymore. With this thought, he participated in the gambling. He had no money in his pocket, so he bet his wristwatch. But luck wasn't on his side. He lost. His gambler friend laughed and said, "Now you have nothing. I can take your daughter." Mahadi thought for a while, then mercilessly nodded. He said with a joyful face, "Now I have nothing." His friend, swaying with happiness, headed towards Mahadi's house. Upon reaching the house, he knocked on the door. But the door was open. Inside, Aki had collapsed unconscious with pain and discomfort. His friend picked her up and quickly put her in the car. Mahadi stood at the door, eyes wide open in the dark, watching everything unfold. A cold smile was on his face, as if he knew something terrible was about to happen, but there was no regret in his eyes. Only a kind of indifferent calmness, as if some invisible force was controlling him. There was a demonic glint in Mahadi's eyes. He wanted more money at any cost. He took a deep breath and said, all right. I'll arrange the money from the bank." His path led straight to the bank. He reached the bank, cashed his check, and handed over all the money in cash. Aki opened her eyes. She found herself in a beautifully decorated room. The room was so lovely and expensive that for a moment she was stunned. Subconsciously, she sat up in fear. "Where is this?" she kept thinking. Her mind grew restless and memories started coming back. She was wondering how such a thing happened to her. She remembered it was Mahadi and his friend who had brought her here. Then Mahadi had forcefully injected her with something. That's the part she recalled. For a moment it felt like time had stopped. Then reality hit her with full force. Why did my father do this to me? Her heart wanted to cry out. My own father sold me. She couldn't believe it. She was still reeling from the shock. Just then the door to the room opened. Her father's friend entered the room. He locked the door behind him. Now he stared at Aki with a wicked look. Aki trembled in fear. A cold chill ran down her body. Her hands and feet began to shake and her whole body shivered. She said aloud, "No, let me go. I want to go to my father." Her father's friend said, "Your father pointed his finger and said, 'Your father has sold you to me for a full 2 lakh taka. Now no one can save you.'" Aki was stunned. Tears welled up in her eyes. This can't be happening. Her heart wished she could disappear into the ground and vanish from there forever. Her father's friend stepped a bit closer. Suddenly there was a loud knock on the door. "Who's there?" Her father's friend was startled. He opened the door and saw their servant standing there. He looked very worried. He said, "Something urgent is happening downstairs. You're being called immediately." Leaving Aki inside the room, her father's friend went downstairs. Taking this chance, the servant showed Aki a way to escape. The servant also wanted to save this innocent girl's life. And with that opportunity, the girl escaped from that room. But where would she escape to? She had no one close in this city. So once again she returned to her father, the same father who had sold her. Her father was shocked to see her. He exclaimed, "How did you get here?" Then the girl slapped her father hard on the cheek and said, What you've done is unforgivable. I now feel hatred for you. I'm ashamed to call you father." Saying this, the girl went into her room and locked the door. Meanwhile, her father's friend started looking for her, but he couldn't find her anywhere. Finally, he came to Mehadi to ask about the girl. Her father, crying, said, "I sold my daughter to you. What you've done to her, you know best." But the girl was still locked inside their house. Not finding her, the friend left. And just like that, several days passed. Her father kept thinking, "I've got lots of money, and I've also got the girl. So what's there to worry about?" And just like that, he kept sinking deeper into alcohol and drugs. Eventually, the money he got from selling his daughter was all gone. Now he had become so addicted that nothing gave him joy without drugs. So he came up with a new plan. This time he wouldn't sell the girl. He would use her as a product. So he made a proposal to his gambling friends. He said, "My daughter is at home. If you spend one night with her, you must pay me this amount." Everyone was eager to spend a night with a young woman. So many of them agreed. And so, in exchange for money, one by one, the friends spent the night with the girl. Many nights passed like this. The girl, helpless, couldn't even scream, because if she did, the neighbors would find out. Her father's crimes would be exposed, so she kept quiet. She endured all the pain. And in this way, from mental and physical torture, the girl died. Meanwhile, her father, out of greed for money, drowned himself further into addiction. As a result, he too eventually died. After death, his grave became terrifying. The villager said, "This was Allah's wrath." Friends, we must learn a lesson from this story. That is, we should keep an eye on our neighbors, especially if a father and daughter are living alone and the girl is young, because such incidents are happening all around us. We are now living in the end times, an age where even daughters are not safe from their own fathers. May Almighty Allah